feel like it's been ages since I've vlogged, even though it hasn't been that long. I was looking at videos last night about I think they were 2020 projects where we were lifting alternators out of gas to energy sites. Me and Chris had done a project for Alliance Healthcare. There's a video about that. There's an alternator rebuild that Charles did for us in the early days that I documented, and sort of like reminiscing back on when I had the time to produce real in-depth good content for social media, which ultimately is what built this business, because that's what enabled us to reach out to the hundreds of customers that we currently have, and what continues to build relationships for this business is the social media reach, demonstrating the capabilities of what we've built within Plevin Power. But yeah, I don't know, just felt like I wanted to come on and talk a little bit about everything that's been going on within our businesses. It's just been crazy of late, and you know, I'm sat here tonight in the ops room looking at a machine that went out late evening that's currently now sat at 990 amp, keeping a customer's, I'm not going to say what it is, but it's keeping a very special piece of machinery up and running. Don't necessarily have the rights to discuss that on a live public platform like this. So, but you know, I'm sat watching the asset produce electricity and keep that client's operation up and running. And I'm just proud of the fact that they rang, we responded, delivered it, installed it. 440 volts, 60 hertz has gone out as. So it's on an offshore application, but very interesting, and proud of the fact that we delivered it. And I think I'm just generally proud of everything on the whole. You know, it's been tough the last couple of months. Yeah, pretty much last 8 weeks. It's been difficult. We had a member of our team leave, somebody that we never thought would leave due to personal circumstances changed, and they had to move on to pastures new. It was a pretty big blow for the business. Key member of our team, but all for the right reasons and not necessarily for the wrong reasons, and still in touch. We're going out on Saturday for a drink to celebrate his new job. And those of you that know Plevin Power, you'll all know exactly who it is. It was Callum. Callum moved on to pastures new. He's getting married in November, so I'm looking forward to celebrating that with him and his missus. And yeah, he started his new job and he's settled in. So we are now looking to replace Callum within our team. And we're looking to we're looking to add to our team. Like, scaling a business like we've scaled Plevin Power is the single hardest thing I have ever encountered. And then I had a bright idea to bring Pertec into the mix in January, but fortunately enough that I'm not going to call it a gamble. It wasn't a gamble, it was a calculated risk. We needed that service and support within our remit, and it's paid off. It's paid dividends. Pertec responded to a job last night, which led to more work for Plevin Power, and Plevin Power respond to jobs all the time, which leads to more work for Pertec, which just absolutely solidifies the fact that it was the right decision and that we've made that move into at the right time. It integrated well with the business, and we invested in it and we built it, and we're working on, you know, scaling that business alongside Plevin Power now, not necessarily to the size that Plevin Power operates at now on a national scale, because it is a franchise and it is limited by postcode, unfortunately, but we do have a national reach. So for those of you that know Halls of Trade with Plevin Power or would like hydraulic services and support, Pertec is a national network, so that we can provide the same level of service and support to any site at any location via the dealer network. So much the same as how a product support dealer network would work within power generation, that works with the Pertec hydraulic network. So you can log a call with Pertec. We're all 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You can log a call with Pertec UK via the national account number, and they will respond and provide the same level of service nationwide around the clock. Much the same as what Plevin Power does, but through a dealer network, or a franchise network rather. But that's been really, really good. But I suppose upon reflection, I'm sat, you know, you sat look around and look at where we're at as a business, and on the whole, as we start to enter what is always for the last 5 years been our busiest months on record. Revenue is through the roof always during these next 6 months, and this period is really what it's a key element of Plevin Power. It's where we make the revenue that enables us to continue to grow. And And when we sit and, unfortunately Callum has had to leave the business, and we look at what other roles we have that are coming available, and then we went to a meeting today, which just left me on a high. We were sat in a room surrounded by 5 individuals who didn't know who me and Chris were necessarily, didn't understand what it was that we brought to the table, because we were brought to the table by a third party, and basically got interviewed by these 5 people about who we were, what our backgrounds were, how we'd ended up where we'd got to, what the future looked like for the business, and where did our positions, where are we going to be in the next 5 years. And to sit and have that conversation and talk about all of the things that we've done over the last 5 years to build the business and put us in a position where we sit at a table with what I would like to think are very 5 senior people within a supply chain. One of the guys was the decision maker for a multi-billion pound industry, and he sat interviewing me and Chris. It's like being up on the dock. But I told him how I built Plevin Power, why I was building Plevin Power. Chris told him why he wanted to join Plevin Power. And when you sit and listen and talk about these things in a room full of people who are interested in what you bring to the table and what services that you can offer, it really drives it home and makes you realise just how much we've done in 5 years. And I'll go back to the fact that it's unfortunate that Callum's had to leave, because he was instrumental in sections of that growth and sat as the service centre manager for our Bromborough HQ. So there's a gap within our team now. That job role is currently unfulfilled. We're constantly looking for someone. We've interviewed 2 people. There's a job offer out to one at the moment. But sitting in that room today and then talking on the way home about the potential that this opens up, and we're walking into we're approaching a point in business. And I was talking to somebody else, a good friend of mine today, who scaled a business rapidly over the last 3 or 4 years from a standing start. And I said, we're approaching this hump in business. And he said, I understand what you're talking about. I've been there, I've done it before. You have to make a decision now. Do you go over and drive and climb over the hump, which ultimately will take Plevin Power from a I don't know what the word is, but a medium-sized enterprise business, providing services and support throughout the UK, to probably a large-sized corporate company, as we then look for premises in different locations within the UK. As conversations with people, and I will shout out Roy from Woodstock Power about going over to the States. Now, I don't know what that looks like for Plevin Power. Me and Roy don't know what that looks like for Plevin Power, but certainly talking about the opportunities for support, on an international scale. But just talking about and being in that room today, with these people, and talking with Chris on the drive back. It was only 25 minutes from the office, but we talked about so much, and we're coming up to that hump in business that I was discussing with my friend. And that hump is the fact that we are just about to tip the scales, and the fact that we're about to enter the phase within our business growth where the requirement changes for key account managers now. There's a requirement for a CAD technician to enable us and the projects team to continuously deliver up-to-date drawings, but at scale, because of the volume of work in which we're operating under. There's a need for salespeople within our company for the different revenue streams. If I sat and talked to you about the 15 different revenue streams that exist within my businesses, you'd be like, how do you do it with what I think is quite a slim team in terms of numbers when you look at some of the larger companies and the corporations that exist? We are probably on a turnover to staff ratio the wrong way round, but that's because we have a phenomenal solid foundation with the core team, so the management team that operate within the business, the lower level management team and the finance team, and how we make decisions and how we operate is all dictated by the people that we have within them teams. But it's a very, very small number versus turnover if you were to look at other operations or other businesses that obviously operate. We're approaching a point in business where we're looking at where are these key roles, where do we need people, where have we got to add people to be able to maintain relationships. And the biggest thing for us in this business has always been the service delivery. We pride ourselves on being available around the clock, but there's a limitation with that by providing that 24-hour 365-day support, because we need to be in a position where we've always got the resources available. Now, taking on more and more customers and scaling and growing is really, really fun. It's exciting. We're opening new doors. We're moving into new areas. We're looking at new markets. But I don't want to do any of that if I can't deliver on the promise that that's what's built what we've got today. So, if you can imagine just this small 10-minute and 13-second video that it is at the minute of how much I've talked about, and then you write each individual one of them tasks down, or the analysis of, a key account manager. What are they going to do? Who are they going to look after? What accounts can we give to that individual if we recruit somebody for that position? Because a lot of the relationships within this business are with people like myself. Chris has his own relationships. Victoria has her relationships. Craig has his relationships. Nikki has her relationships. Them relationships that we have sometimes end up being passed over to Nikki because they integrate within the business for the day-to-day running. We have larger relationships where we do service and support or emergency breakdown support for the likes of Enna Power when we work with Nick and his team. We work heavily with Templant. But they're all key relationships that this business has with specific individuals within it. So that one topic or that one individual or that one job role that I've mentioned, think about how much work is involved in identifying how they integrate within this business, and then do that times the 10 job roles that I've just said there's potential for within the company. And the constant thing that will always exist within our business, regardless of the back office team that's required to enable us to continue to scale, will be the need for individuals that want to work in a fast-paced, dynamic, growing, evolving, innovative environment that is Plevin Power. No 2 days are the same. I'd be very surprised if any of the lads could ever tell you they've done the same thing 2 days in a row, because unfortunately, I think it's a really fortunate thing. The tide changes and the wind, 1 minute you'll be involved in a planned job, the next minute something's broken as an emergency, the next minute you'll be working on an engine, or you could be doing an electrical refit. There is so many different things and such a diverse business, and the exciting thing for us is the fact that because we're customer focused and because we're service delivery focused, we look at areas for improvement, such as look at the field service vans and how capable they are or how well equipped they are. We look at areas such as standardising the tooling that them vans carry so that lads can work efficiently, and we know as a business that they've got the tools to be able to work to the highest possible standards. So all of these things and all of that stuff I've just talked about, it all contributes to the bigger picture. And when is the decision to buy a new truck? Well, I don't know. When is the decision to buy a new truck? Obviously there's a plan afoot, and we look at assets and we look at planned renewals and we look at ownership versus cost of purchasing a new vehicle. But the same thing again, everything takes so much time and so much focus and so much energy that it just zaps you sometimes. But today was a really, really good day, and a real day of reflection, because we couldn't have sat in that room a year ago or 2 years ago, and yes, we could have answered the questions, and yes, we could have provided the same story and the same level of support, but at a much, much smaller scale, and not been stood or sat as quietly confident as we were, that we were saying things that we knew we promised that we'd deliver on. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it really. It's just been one of them. The last 8 weeks have just been tough, and as we've rolled into September now, we had a couple of really big client meetings last month that is currently going through the onboarding process. We've been really successful in being awarded a 5-year service level agreement for a data centre in the financial sector. We've been working with that client really closely for the last 12 months and now progressing into more and more in-depth site upgrade works, looking at risk analysis, providing disaster recovery plans, working on upgrades and infrastructure support projects. So last month we did 2 new customers that we came in, we showed them the operation, showed them what Plevin Power is doing and at scale, and going through the onboarding process with them. And it just seems to be that over the last probably 7 to 8 months, everything that we always dreamed about, such as being awarded the 5-year service level agreements with such a large customer, sitting in meetings with people that want to know who you are, what you're about, how you've got to where you've got to, what the future looks like for you, to understand how you can support them, is just I don't know, it's like a dream come true. You know, we've worked, me and Chris and Victoria and everybody that works within this business has been here from the beginning, and the people that join us now on this journey. We can take this business and the services and the product support and everything that we do with such attentiveness to whatever level we decide to take it to. Now, we always have conversations about, well, we spoke about it today. We were like, did you ever think we'd get to where we got to? And I was like, I didn't believe we'd get to where we've got to so quickly. Now, other people did. Victoria's always manifested it and said, I know we'll get to here. Chris has always spoken about it, saying, I know we will get bigger and bigger and bigger. But when it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger around you, when you're so heavily involved in everything that's changing and developing and growing, and because you care about it, you don't necessarily appreciate just how big it's become. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of people out there that will listen to this and understand what I'm talking about. And it goes for any size business. So for those of you that are self-employed, when you buy your second van, when you take on the first employee, that's growth. That they're the kind of things that when you first bought your first van and got your first customer and did your first job, that you thought were a million miles away. Now just imagine times that to our scale. We bought a fuel tanker in January. Still doesn't feel real. We've got a fuel business that sits within what we do, and we deliver fuel for customers. And I see it happening. It hasn't sank in that Plevin Petroleum is operating and working and delivering fuel when this time last year it was just, do you think we could do this? It was a necessity. And you don't necessarily fully appreciate just how much things have changed until you get a pinch me moment, like sitting in a room with people who say, who are you? What have you done? How did you get to where you've got to? And what support can you offer us? And it was a bit of a pinch me moment, and I'm sure Woozy will see this video and he will relate to it, and there'll be plenty of you who understand what the type of conversations I'm talking about. But it's just take a moment to appreciate where we're at and the direction in which we're heading. You know, like I said before, we're coming into what is the busiest months for the business. So September is normally starts to get busy. Then the temperature will change the end of September. It will come into October, November and December, and the cold weather will start to come, and the wet weather and the wind. And that generally seems to be where we'll see an increase in our work, because, you know, electricity outages increase, infrastructure issues become obvious because people don't necessarily always test their equipment periodically. So, you know, we end up busier and busier and busier and busier, and coming into these months, having had a summer with opportunities that have presented themselves like they have, and looking ahead about the direction that we're heading in and where we may be in 12 months time, 18 months, 36 months time, is just crazy. So yeah, I don't know, pretty much just a bit of a download really after what was a really, really big day. I didn't really get much done this afternoon because that job came in for a 1250 kVA, which we had to reconfigure. So Dan the man went out, sorted out the site stuff. Myself, Alex and Brad got the 1250 ready. Dave took it out, Dan installed it, commissioned it, and it's online. So tomorrow we'll be back behind the driving seat, and getting some paperwork and forms and stuff sorted out post today's meetings, and then starting to catch up and look at the rest of the months ahead, and yeah, appreciating where we are. So for those of you that have followed the journey, and you would have lasted 18 minutes and 50 seconds at this point to watch this video, thank you very much. It isn't easy. It's not always as rosy as what social media makes it out to be. But you have to just take the lows with the highs, unfortunately. And I know you're supposed to take the highs with the lows, but there seems, in any journey, there's always lower lows than there are highs. So enjoy the highs when they do come. And today, for me, coming out of that meeting and looking at, even if it wasn't to be successful, I am thankful that we were in that room, because we were in that room for all of the right reasons. People knew who Plevin Power were through reputation and recommendation. And we were sat at a table having a very, very serious conversation about a very, very serious contract opportunity for our company. So yeah, thanks for watching all 19 minutes and 37 seconds now. I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care.